bring you a discussion on Union Cabinet decisions for farmers' welfare. The participants are G. Chandrasekhar, agriculture expert, and Rajesh Lake, anchor.
Mr. Chandrasekhar, Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Thursday highlighted the centre's commitment to fulfilling the promises made to the farmers for their welfare, asserting that a historic rise in the price of sugarcane is part of the efforts made by the government. Would you elaborate on this aspect, how this is historic, how it is fulfilling the promises made to the farmers?
Yes, I think this is very positive for the cane growers of this country. There are at least 50 million people who are associated with the sugar sector in one way or the other. And there are a very large number of farmers associated in probably 12 states of this country cultivating sugarcane. So the increase in FRP by 8% announced by the central government is very positive for the cane growers. This is certainly going to increase or boost their incomes to that extent. And this also is a demonstration of the very positive attitude of the government of India towards farmers. Because if you see in the last several years, there have been so many new initiatives that have been taken to strengthen our agriculture sector, particularly with respect to, for example, soil health card and crop insurance, credit, Kisan credit card, and a whole lot of other direct benefit payment, etc.
So this 107% higher than A2 plus FL cost of sugarcane, new FRP will ensure prosperity of sugarcane farmers, and this should be good news for the farmers of India.
In my view, should actually encourage farmers of other crops to have some hope. They will also be the beneficiary of this kind of hikes, etc., in the minimum support price that they get. And that has been happening. In the last several years, there have been increases, very robust increases in the MSP for many crops, and that is actually seen in the production of various crops. Only in the last 2 years, we've had very serious weather aberration, which has impacted our both Kharif and Rabi crops, and therefore we had to take steps to control food inflation. And the government did take timely steps to ban wheat export or regulate rice export, sugar export, etc. All that. So those are compulsions, because the policy context, as I see in the last 2 or 3 years, has become quite complex. It is not easy to take policy decisions. Therefore, the entire context of agriculture policy has become quite complex, and many governments, many administrators are around the world are struggling to balance the interest of the growers and the consumers. And therefore, we as a nation, I think we have done a fairly decent job of promoting and judiciously balancing the conflicting interests of the producers and consumers. And I think we have done fairly well. And also look at it from the challenges, new challenges that we are facing: land constraints, water shortage, climate change. Climate change is one of the biggest challenges over which we have no control at all. And therefore, I think from that perspective, I must compliment the policymakers that they have done a good job.
What about the overall sugar, seasons are already paid to farmers. Whatever was insured, the government has ensured that the farmers get right price of their crop in right time. In fact, I have figures which tell me that 99.5% cane dues of previous sugar season and 99.9% of all other sugar seasons are already paid to farmers. It is a point towards the commitment that the government has made to the farmers, and it's a good follow-up with the price increase that is announced today. And these timely policy interventions is something that I would like you to talk about, Chandrasekharji, regarding the sugar mills becoming self-sustainable and no financial assistance is given to them by government since 21-22. Still, the central government has ensured assured FRP and assured procurement of sugarcane to farmers. Your quick comments on the policy intervention.
Sure. I've been tracking the sugar sector for probably 25 years and a little more. The point is we faced several challenges. The sugar sector usually faces challenges of cane production being very volatile, huge cane arrears that the mills would owe to the farmers. And the mills would always want some loans or financial accommodation at low rates of interest, etc. I think we have, in the last 4 or 5 years that I'm seeing, we have actually overcome that hump. And we are now in a stable situation where production has stabilized substantially. Cane output volatility has substantially reduced. Cane or consumer prices are quite reasonably consumer friendly. There is no doubt at all. In fact, consumers should have no complaint. My sense is they can afford to pay at least 2 more rupees or 3 more rupees per kilo, but they have been taken care of in recent years. And then, of course, to use that extra cane that we produce, we have also talking about ethanol, diversion for ethanol, cane juice, etc. So these are very positive steps. There can be no two opinions about what has happened to the sugar sector in recent years. These are very, very positive steps. We should also look ahead, particularly look at a 10-year horizon, both for the sugar sector in particular, and of course for the entire agriculture sector in general, including major crops like rice, wheat, oilseeds, pulses, coarse grains, etc. And therefore, that is where I would strongly want the government to continue to do its excellent work of supporting the agriculture sector in the last 10 years by looking at challenges and creating a new policy framework which would ensure our food and nutrition security during the Amrit Kal. I want to mention 3 resources which are required. One is human resources, second is financial resources, third is technological resources. And I'm sure we have all the 3 resources in our country, and we should be able to leverage the 3 resources in our country to give a big boost to agriculture, because the challenges are also daunting. Land constraints, water shortage, climate change, these are 3 major ones. And to meet these daunting challenges, overcome these challenges, we need to leverage our inherent strengths, which is where I would actually advocate a new national agriculture policy with regionally differentiated strategies. We need to put that now together, looking at the next 25 years or so, with stakeholder consultation. This would be my recommendation. We need stakeholder consultation because agriculture is a state subject under the Constitution. State governments have a big responsibility, but the central government and the state government therefore have to work together in tandem and in partnership to ensure that the country's food security and nutrition security is not compromised in the context of the 3 challenges that we talked about. Therefore, I think while a lot has been done, which is creditable without any doubt, I think a lot more needs to happen. I'm always looking ahead. I'm always looking at the future with very positive intent. And then to convert that intent into a positive outcome, we need, of course, the strategies to work on the agriculture sector, which I'm sure the Prime Minister and other top leaders within the government are all constantly thinking about it. But a stakeholder consultation will definitely throw up new ideas for the consideration of the policymakers.
We will come to these points that you mentioned, particularly about the stakeholder consultation and the strategies and the new agriculture policy. Before that, I quickly want to ask you about how does National Livestock Mission benefit? The Prime Minister talked about today and the action that was taken in relation to the National Livestock Mission. If you could elaborate on that.
Yeah, I've been tracking this livestock and poultry for the last maybe 10 or 15 years. I'm a speaker in many of their conferences. Therefore, I know what their challenges are. In fact, often I tell the sector, the corporates and others in this sector, livestock and poultry, that even if they don't want growth, there will be growth in this sector. That's the situation we are in. And this is one of the fastest within agriculture. Livestock and poultry is one of the fastest growing segments of the agriculture sector. And it's also a great source of employment generation. Next is nutrition security. Both livestock and poultry sector produce, say, milk, poultry, etc. All these are protein dense. They have a lot of protein. And therefore, that is going to advance our nutrition security. Our nutrition status needs to improve. There's no doubt at all. There's a protein deficiency in large sections of the population. But these sectors are going to grow, and the latest decision of the government to further boost the livestock and poultry sector is a very, very important decision. And in addition to that, the government is also looking not merely at cattle and chicken, for example. No, they're going beyond that to look at all the other animals. And therefore, that is again a very important signal that the entire livestock, poultry, and cattle population is very critical for India. Animal agriculture is indeed growing rapidly, and we can actually leverage the strengths that this growth sector has to further boost activities there, which will generate employment, which will generate income, and it will also lead to improved welfare of animals. We are looking at human beings, their welfare, human welfare, but animals are equally important. It will also help improve animal welfare in this country. And therefore, I think it's a very positive step.
Yes, you're right. Very important sector, Chandrasekharji. The government also changed the National Livestock Mission by adding new initiatives, which you talked about, and also gave organizations and giving the organizations and individuals a 50% capital subsidy to start their own horse, donkey, mule, and camel businesses. So that is also a step in a right direction to boost this aspect of the industry.
Importantly, this capital subsidy will actually trigger new entrepreneurs to come into this sector. While the existing companies and corporate may expand their facilities, this capital subsidy is something which is going to attract new entrepreneurs. And that for me is the most positive aspect of this new capital subsidy, which is, I see it as a very positive step.
We were talking about, in fact, you were mentioning about the new agricultural policy, and I'm going to connect it to the current challenges that you see in the Indian agriculture sector and how these will overcome with the new agriculture policy that you envisage.
The current challenges are at the macro level. There are three big challenges. One is land constraint, second is water shortage, third one is climate change. For me, land constraint is a lesser challenge of the three, primarily because our land use intensity is low. We have about 150 million hectares of arable land. But if you look at both the seasons, Rabi and the Kharif season, our total usage of land is only about 180 to 190 million hectares. 150 million hectares cultivated twice a year should actually be 300 million hectares. I know it's an ideal situation. We may not reach there, but current land use intensity is 1.3 or around. That can actually go up to 1.5, which means we can use land for cultivating both the crop. Therefore, some land, arable land, remains unused for the second season. And therefore, we probably must have a policy which will incentivize use of arable land for the second season. And when we produce more through higher cultivation of larger areas, that will also augment our availability of food. And to that extent, our shortages will reduce, our import dependence will reduce. Possibly we may have export surplus. Second one, water shortage. I think we need very scientific management of our water resources. We should be spending more and more money on researching and developing, designing heat-tolerant and drought-tolerant varieties. Yeah.
Okay. So I hope the new agricultural policy that you are envisaging will bring about the boost and give that impetus to the farmers, to the government to implement it and to give agriculture the boost that it deserves. Thank you so much for being with Akashvani, Chandrasekharji. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
You were listening to a discussion on Union Cabinet decisions for farmers' welfare. The participants were G. Chandrasekhar, agriculture expert, and Rajesh Lake, anchor. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of Akashvani. You can listen to it on our mobile app News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel News on AIR Official. You may share your feedback about this program through email at airnsdtalks@gmail.com or WhatsApp on 9289094044.
ये आकाशवाणी है। प्रस्तुत है कार्यक्रम कंट्री वाइड